All right, welcome to another live episode of geekoutdoors.com. I actually had to do a little impromptu episode today. This is normally earlier than our scheduled time, but I wanted to go ahead and do a live episode today. I thought about just not doing it, but here we are. And so today I'm going to be talking about two main things. The first thing is how YouTube is removed or has removed millions of videos, in this case 8 million videos from YouTube. And then secondly, we will be talking about currently the most popular Linux of them all. And so this will be probably a quicker episode because I had some stuff to do today, but let's go ahead and get started with this first one. And so on this article, it talks about how YouTube removed more than 8 million videos for violence and extremist content during Q4 of 2017. Okay, now this is something that's actually related to a post made on YouTube, which is the YouTube guidelines, community guidelines enforcement transparency report. Okay, and so this is something that I think is pretty big to a lot of content creators, and I will explain to you why. And it's also very important, obviously, to Google and also everybody that is actually on YouTube. Okay, so hey, good morning, Roger Lusk. Good morning, Bob Devereaux. Thank you for joining. And so this is why it's interesting, okay? And I think it's why it's important. Now, these are just my own opinions, okay? And obviously, I am a content creator, but at the same time, I'm a content consumer as well. I absolutely love the internet, and especially YouTube, okay? So there's really, like, in my opinion, there's really two main categories on this, okay? There's going to be people, and it's mostly content creators, who really hated all these new guidelines that went through, okay? Or a lot of people refer to as the YouTube apocalypse, okay? But then there's the other side who, this is in general terms, right? Who are not content creators, and they're just consumers, and they don't see the rest of this stuff going on. And I think there's a third part, you know, there's a third group of people who are content creators and who really feel like these things make sense, okay? And I'm in that group, okay? And so that's not a very popular group to be in because a lot of people really, really hated these guidelines, okay? And so in general, let's kind of go through what the YouTube Community Guidelines Enforcement Report is saying, okay? So during this period in the last quarter of December or 2017, from October 2017 to December 2017, 8.28 million, so let's just say 8.3 million videos were deleted from YouTube for actually violating YouTube community guidelines, okay? Now, that was actually a combination of both the AI, artificial intelligence, automatic flagging, and also the human flagging, okay? Now, this is where it's interesting because let me switch over to my actual desktop, and I'm going to show you what content creators kind of have been going through with the whole changes, okay? And so let's go ahead and go there. And so as you can see here, obviously this is my desktop, okay? So let me go show you something. So the majority of the problems that people have been having is because of the new community guidelines and the AI machine learning that's going out. A lot of people's videos were being flagged, okay? And whatever that happens, that means the monetization on your videos, it's limited. Or most of the times, in some cases, they're actually removed. But the majority of people who got the flags, that means that their video was limited, okay? So you could get limited monetization, i.e. less ads on your videos, okay? And this is where a lot of people were really angry, a lot of content creators, because of the new changes. Not only were most of their videos being incorrectly flagged, like pretty much most of my videos, whenever they got uploaded, I got flagged. And which doesn't make sense for my content because I'm not really doing anything crazy on my content, right? But I already knew that the artificial intelligence was learning, okay? So I kind of expected that would happen anyway. But a lot of people were not happy with that because obviously they're not getting paid, okay? And so they're not getting paid as much. And then the second thing that happened from these guidelines was the fact that the requirements were higher. And so now if people wanted to be part of the YouTube partner program, i.e. getting paid from ads, then they actually had to have 4,000 hours of watch time and 1,000 subscribers, and that's within a year. Okay, and so that really pissed off a lot of people. Okay, a lot of people were complaining that that really affects smaller YouTubers, that they couldn't get paid. And so all of those things, really made it a controversial issue. And I get it, and this is where the camp that I can see as a content creator, why this would not be something that's very popular. Okay, and as a matter of fact, it caused a lot of people to not become content creators, or it caused a lot of people to leave the platform altogether. Okay, and so that is a little background on what happened and why it led to this. Okay, and so because of that, like I just mentioned, a lot of people were not happy with the platform, but you are seeing the reasons why they've done this and then the results of it. And I'm going to get into my opinions on why it helps the platform. Okay, and obviously there would definitely be negatives as well, but I see more positives to it. Okay, and so as you can see here, 9 million videos flagged by all human flaggers. And how this works is, if you're on YouTube and you watch a video that you don't agree with, in terms of you think that it violates policies, or you think it's spam, you do have an option where you could actually check that. Okay, and it actually goes through a flagging system which Google or YouTube has implemented, which is once again a combination of artificial intelligence and humans. Okay, now humans, Google has actually hired quite a few people. They're going to, I think their goal is to hire 10,000 human flaggers. Okay, and so what they'll do is they will actually go through each video and really see if it's something that community actually violated their community guidelines. And in this transparency report, they give a lot of good examples. Okay, like for example, say somebody flagged a video for hateful or abusive flag, right? And then the actual video is actually a video performance of a well-known K-pop band. And the outcome is they didn't violate the policy, so nothing was done to the video. Okay, but then they gave another example, which I didn't think of, being violent or repulsive, is a video of an amateur science channel featuring a live grasshopper being microwaved. This did violate the abuse policy. Okay, it says despite amateur science intent, the video violated our animal abuse policy. Okay, and then obviously there are things that are definitely the reasons why they have things like this: child abuse, or things that are extremists, okay, terrorism and so forth. The one area that is very, I would say that a lot of controversy is the hateful and abusive. Okay, that one, it's going to be really hard to figure out without humans intervening. In this case, they talk about a video calling for the murder of gay people. Yeah, that's probably hateful or abusive, but at the same time, this is where it gets very difficult, because one person's perception of what is hateful or abusive might not be. It might just be somebody's opinion. Okay, and so that's where the human flagging team is really, really important, and that's why it's so difficult. Okay, so here's the one sense that I think about. Okay, if you think about YouTube, just think about it from a technology standpoint. Okay, and I'm trying to think of this from a geek standpoint, and I have worked in corporate information technology companies for like 10 years. Okay, and so a lot of what people see who have never worked behind the scenes, it looks really simple, but it's extremely complex. Just think about all the millions and millions of hours of videos that are being uploaded to YouTube all around the world in multiple languages every second. I mean, I can't remember the stats. I remember reading there's probably hundreds of millions of hours uploaded every hour, and that keeps growing. And so think about you as a technology provider, right? How do you actually take care of all that traffic? Just from a technical point of view, the server capacity, the redundancy, doing all the security checks, and that's just some of the technical stuff. How do you keep all the servers cool? And the cost, it's millions and millions of dollars to keep that running. Okay, and then you go into the super complex part, and then the hardware, the technical stuff is already hard itself. But then you get into the real, really almost, I would say, almost seems like impossible task of trying to filter out the content to where you don't show things that show child abuse or extremism or things like that, terrorism. How do you filter all of that out? That is extremely difficult, And once again, just remember, YouTube is all around the world. There's so many different languages. There's so many different nuances of language. And that is extremely impressive to me, that I could upload a video and all of these things are done behind the scenes and it's so seamless. But if you yourself had to do this from a technical point of view, it would be near impossible for the majority of people. That's why YouTube is so hard to beat, because this is not an easy thing. And just remember, you're getting all of this for free. Okay, and so when I think about those things, to me, it's absolutely amazing that they're even able to do all of this. Okay, and in a manner that is on a massive scale. Okay, and so that's the first thing. I mean, it is not an easy thing. It is extremely complex. And let's go ahead and talk about the other reasons why they do this. Okay, and these are my opinions. Okay, and this is really difficult. Okay, because hey, good morning, Blackworm. Blackworm is saying the only stuff that should be flagged are copyrighted content, porn, and doxing videos. Everything else is pretty much opinionated. And Blackout Worm, I will get into my thoughts on that as well. And that's why I wanted to set all of that before, in that it is so complex. It is extremely complex. Imagine if you had to do this yourself. I don't think the majority of people could do it. Okay, and once again, there's so much content being uploaded all around the world in so many different languages. It might seem simple to us, especially if you are not a content creator. It might seem very simple. And then if you are a content creator and you've never really done anything in the technical field, especially in a large-scale corporation, then you would not even think this is a hard thing to do. It's easy. It's easy for you to flag, once again, things that are copyrighted, porn, doxing, as what Blackout Worm has mentioned. But like I said, there's so much content being uploaded, so many different languages, so many cultures, and it's almost, like I said, to me, this is a monumental thing. Okay, so that's first and foremost. I do not think it's easy from a technical point of view at all. I mean, in order for you to compete against YouTube and to do what they're already doing, it's going to cost you billions and billions of dollars. So that's first. Technically, it's extremely complex, hands down. I don't think anybody could say this is easy. If it was, they would be doing it right now. Secondly, you got to think about the legal issues. I mean, every single day, I'm pretty sure Google has an impressive legal team. They could get sued for everything. I mean, if you think about the copyrighted content, that's all the time, every single day, all around the world. Second, for things that are, like adult type stuff or, child endangerment, all those things, that's another huge area where they could get sued. And then, the areas where that it could be construed as, against the law. I think Blackout Worm just mentioned that out. That is so hard. I'm not sure how you would do that on a massive scale without doing something that they've done here, where you have a combination of artificial intelligence and also the human flagging. Okay. And so, hey, good morning, Carlos Enrique. So Blackout Worm said, what I'm saying is, if it doesn't break the actual law, then don't touch it. YouTube is flagging videos based on their left-wing bias and opinion. They're making it more complex than it has to be. So Blackout Worm, so this is where I want to talk about my opinion on this, being a content creator, okay? And this might not be popular with everybody. Now, a lot of the content creators, and this is something that is real. If you are not a content creator, you probably have never heard of this or don't even care. Okay, a lot of people are saying YouTube is biased. It's against, it's more for the liberal media. And I don't like to get into the whole politics and stuff and all, but let's just understand this. That's why I mentioned that YouTube has millions of hours of videos being uploaded from all around the world. YouTube is not just the United States and Canada. And so if you were technically building this massive system of AI, would you really care about really simple things such as politics, which is really different across all around the world? And so that's from my point of view. But let me tell you why I think it's really being done, okay? And it's just my opinion, okay? it's not being done because of political issues, okay? Because that stuff is trivial. It's very simple, okay? In terms of why would you spend billions of dollars for trivial things like that? Like I said, there's millions of videos all around the world in multiple languages. There's so much content out there, okay? And so why they're really doing it, and I know this sounds really general, but I'm going to explain to you why. Why they're really doing it, first and foremost, is money. You know, if this ad platform, let's just remember how Google makes their money. They make their money from Google AdWords, okay? And I'm going to explain to you a few things. A lot of these things I think a lot of content creators know about, but then on some other things I don't think they really think about, okay? And so first and foremost, Google is a business, okay? YouTube is a business. They make their money from their AdWords platform. That's where the majority of their money is made, and their entire ecosystem, okay? And so imagine if you own this company and you wanted people to buy your ad service. I run ads on AdWords and Facebook ads, okay? I do digital marketing, okay? So if you, let's think about it from the person wanting to run ads on Google's platform, i.e. YouTube, you're spending your money on this, your business. You're spending millions of dollars, or even for $10, it doesn't matter, your money. And then when you put your money on this ad platform, your content or your advertisement is being shown in places where you're not going to get a good return on your investment. Or the platform on YouTube has things that are gonna hurt your brand, okay? And so I know that sounds like really all about money, but just think about you paying money for this, okay? It's your business, it's your livelihood. And so would you want to actually advertise on that platform? Chances are no, you're not going to be spending any more money. And that's why every single platform has these rules. It's not just from a legal standpoint. They're doing it first and foremost to protect their business and their shareholders. And then secondly, okay, it's always going to start with that first. Because obviously if they're not making money, they're not going to have a business. You will not have YouTube. That's first and foremost. It's always about that first. Business first. Secondly is the actual community, the consumers who come to their platform. Just think about all the websites that you go to, the entertainment that you watch, the news that you read. Why do you go there? Or the Linux distros that you use. Why do you go there? Because the community, it provides you something that is actually valuable and safe, right? If I was downloading a Linux distro, would I want to download a distro where they have malware and stuff in there, or they are doing illegal things? Probably not, okay? Or they have really violent stuff on their website just so you could get the distro. You probably wouldn't want to. That's why whenever people go get a distro, do they go to places that are safe and where they know where the distro they'll download, it'll be fine? Yeah, most likely. And you do that on every platform. You want a place that you don't have to think about those things. And so think about it that way. So that's why whenever YouTube is doing all those things, it's first to protect their business, second to protect the people who are coming to their website, okay? And that's where it's so difficult, okay? And then the third thing is this, okay? If you are a YouTube content creator, a lot of times you think about it's all about them trying to, censor you and all these things. But think about it this way. If you've been on a YouTube a long time, and this is my opinion, okay? And other YouTube content creators, mostly marketers, this is where I get a lot of my information, because marketers, we look at it from a different way, okay? So think about when you go on YouTube, you see these videos, right, that are stolen from other popular videos. You've probably seen this before. They have a channel that all it does is, and these are done by robots or bots. What they do is they take very popular content, and this is the thing that most content creators don't talk about because they focus so much on censorship, okay? But that's not what it's about. Think about all these really popular YouTube videos, and suddenly you see channels with the same video, and they have the channel monetized, and they're making money off of somebody else's content. So that's where majority of the money was lost through Google, okay? It's not just this stuff that's violating community guidelines. It's a lot of these companies who have these bots, or people who have these bots who are making millions of dollars off of YouTube. That's why they increase their number of hours watched, and that's why they increase their number of subscribers, because these fake channels were taking so much money away, not only from Google, but all the real content creators out there. That's what most content creators don't talk about. They're losing tons of money. We are losing tons of money. And so Google had to do things like that, okay? And I don't agree with everything that they do, okay? But I had to think about it logically. If you own this type of business, you have this infrastructure, how would you take care of it? Okay, and the things that they're doing, that's probably the same thing I do. Okay, and I just talk about those bots with those videos. I remember seeing so many YouTube videos. It would use like a scraping tool, right? And it would look at this most popular videos, and what it would do is it would scrape all the meta description, the headlines, tags, so that you could rank, because YouTube is a search engine, you could rank, and then it would copy those videos and then create a channel automatically and spit them out, and then it would get a whole bunch of views, and then they would get the ad money from the AdSense program, which is paid through Google AdWords, right? And so all these people who were not content creators were taking money away from the real content creators and providing a really bad experience, okay? And so that's another huge reason that Google did this, that YouTube did this, okay? And so those are the main reasons why, okay? And now, if you actually do look as a YouTube content creator, okay, if you actually go back to my videos, okay, and let me make sure this is running, okay. And so before, a lot of my videos, almost like every video I upload is flagged, okay? But me being in technology and kind of knowing how things work, it takes time. It takes time for the AI to learn. And I did mention that on a previous episode. And now, pretty much none of my videos get flagged. It's like none of them. Before, all of these were flagged, okay? And I do want to say this, you know, and I have mentioned this before. I am thankful that Google or YouTube is even paying you for putting up videos, because most platforms don't pay you anything, okay? Go to Facebook. You know, I know they just rolled out a program. You don't get paid to create content there. You don't get paid to create content on Twitter. You don't get paid to create content even on like other open source platforms. I can't remember the other platform, but anyway, most platforms, you don't get paid to upload content. Even Twitch, you know, you have to rely on other people to give you that. And you could even talk about things such as theming and all this other stuff, but you don't really get paid in the same way that you do YouTube. So that's first and foremost. They pay you when they don't have to pay you, okay? And so, secondly, and I have mentioned this before, I don't think the majority of people for the long term, they should rely on ads, okay? And once again, you know, I have mentioned this before, people complain about ads. They complain about all these community changes, right? Even as content creators. But first and foremost, you're getting paid. You didn't have to pay for any of this. Secondly, they complain about ads. Well, how do you think they make their money? It needs people like me and businesses to buy these ads. And so a lot of people, in my opinion, content creators, the ones who are complaining, they're complaining, but they're not complaining when they get paid. They're not complaining when these ads run on their videos so they get money. Okay, they're not complaining when their YouTube channel doesn't get shut down, right? And so that's a kind of rant, but you know, it's like people want it both ways, okay? And unfortunately, you can't have it both ways. You know, you kind of have to play by the rules that the platform that you're on, because you don't own the platform. In my opinion, if you actually want to have more quote unquote freedom, then you have a few options, okay? So the first option is you need to have your own website, okay? If you want more freedom, have your own website, okay? And that's why I have my own website. And even if you do have your own website, unless you actually own like the server space and everything else, then you still kind of have to play by the rules of the hosting provider that you're on, okay? And so, yeah, so in my opinion, overall, I think this is a good thing, because it'll keep the actual platform viable, so that people, content creators, can continue making money on this platform for the long term. And you know, and on the second side, consumers, for the most part, will have a better experience. And that's my overall long-term view. And then for people who are more focused on, well, I want to do whatever I want to do, I want to have complete freedom, then your choices are pretty much you create your own platform. That's about it. I think that's the only way that you could have complete freedom to say exactly what you want. And once again, I really do not think this whole thing is all based upon, to me, trivial things such as politics, okay, such as even things such as freedom of speech, because that's really not what it's about, in my opinion, okay? Just think about it from a large scale view, okay, where once again, this is a worldwide company with worldwide content. So you kind of have to think about it that way. You know, every country is different. Everybody's opinions are different. And for you to actually manage all of that, I think it's super difficult. Now, I don't agree with everything that YouTube does. Absolutely not. But that's why I really feel if you are going to be on the internet, you're going to be doing things on the internet, then, you know, you're going to have to be able to adapt. That's first and foremost. And once again, I'm really focused on a content creator because I think a lot of times most people are not content creators, so they're consumers. And so they don't understand a lot of the things that the content creators go by. And then on the content creator side, I don't think the majority of content creators buy ads, you know, buy ads on their platform. And so in that case, they only look at it from a content creator's point of view, and then they don't take a look at the business point of view. How does this platform that they're on, how do they make money? How do they allow you to actually create content on their platform? Okay, so I think I have the different perspective where I'm a consumer, I'm a content creator, and I also buy ads on their platform. And so I get like a different view. I understand why they would do this, okay? But then I also understand as a content creator what it feels like whenever these changes happen. And then finally, I'm a consumer, okay? So that's why I really feel like whenever I talk about these things, I have a different perspective than most people because I'm on all three ends, okay? And so when I read these things and I look at these things, well, you know, I kind of think about, well, how would I feel from all three angles? And that's why I wanted to talk about this because so many times I think, unfortunately, we are really influenced a lot by what's most popular. And so if you are a YouTube content creator, when this whole YouTube adpocalypse happened, there were so many videos, you know, with people complaining about it because obviously they were angry, but at the same time, you get a lot of views on that as well. So it was a popular thing, but not many people talked about, well, on the business end, why would they do this? You know, and why does it make sense? And so that's an angle that there wasn't that many videos on. And about the only videos that I saw on that were people who actually did business, you know, the marketers, people who actually run ads on YouTube. They were really the only content creators that I saw that took a different perspective because they know how this stuff works. And so that's the perspective I take. Okay, so I take from this first. I look at their business model. Why would you do it that way? Because if you put yourself in that position, you would probably do something similar. And then secondly, you know, I looked at it from a content creator point of view. Okay, that, you know, some things I don't agree with. Okay, but for the most part, I get it. And then finally, from a consumer point of view, will this make my experience better in the long term? And then for other people, okay, I mean, you have to make it a platform that people feel safe that they're going to. And I don't mean safe from a political point of view. I mean safe that knowing that, you know, you won't download malware, okay, or get served up content that is probably not really good for you or your children. Okay, that's from the consumer point of view. Okay, and so Blackburn said, well, if it's all about the mighty dollar, how come they don't allow people to pay for the content to be on YouTube? Well, Blackout Worm, they will. They will. And I have said this before. You're going to be paying for pretty much everything on the internet. They call it like gated services, right? And we already have a lot of that right now. More people are used to paying for things on the internet now. Things such as Netflix, Amazon Prime, right? YouTube Red. All of these services are going to be paid. So that's why I'm so bullish on people learning how to create content, okay, and learning digital marketing, okay, because that's where the future is headed. In the future, much like how you're doing right now, where people pay for their cable, people pay for their telephone service, you're going to be paying for everything on the internet. Just being used to that. So in the future, YouTube Red is the beginning of the paid tier model. And if you keep up with the Facebook stuff, they're going to have a paid version as well. And this is nothing new. And I myself actually doing stuff on the internet where I pay for stuff. I pay for stuff on the internet. So this is going to be normal. I don't think a lot of people are used to doing that, to pay for everything on the internet. Okay? But that's where we're heading. So in the future, you will have to pay to even get to YouTube. Okay? And so good morning, Gaza. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Rose, for joining. And Carlos is saying the future is the decentralized web, IPFS website example. Yeah, Carlos, I think that there is a place for that, but I don't think that's going to be viable. And And let me tell you why, okay? Because in the end, you have to rely on businesses to run the whole world, right? And so a lot of people think, well, this is decentralized. Let's go to Steemit. Let's go to something like that, all right? But all of those services run on servers somewhere, right? They all use bandwidth somewhere. There's a telecom company underneath it somewhere. And what is that owned by? It's owned by business. It's not free. Okay, and so even if you are on a decentralized platform or you are on a dark web or whatever the case, there's businesses underneath running all of that. And so there's no way to get around that. Businesses run this world. Everything that you do is impacted by business. And so as much as we'd like things for free and that there's not going to be any rules or whatever it is, that's not the case. Because just think about logically. It doesn't matter where you're at. They need servers. They need bandwidth. They need people. And all of that requires money to run that. Otherwise, none of these services would exist. Okay? You wouldn't be watching this right now if there wasn't a business underneath it. You would not have a phone if there wasn't a business underneath it. And so as much as we'd like to have our anonymity and our freedom, there's going to be a cost involved. And there's no way around that. I like to be as optimistic as possible in certain things, but I have to think about the realities of it all. Everything that you do has some type of cost. Okay, and so, but the good thing is, that you still have choices, okay? But just understand that the choices in the future will not, they'll be very similar. Let's just say that, okay? And it's not just in one place. That's all around the world, and that's kind of where it's at. But I'm just saying basic principles. There is businesses underneath all of this, and there always has been. And so whenever that is involved, whenever there's a cost, whenever there's rules, there's going to be things that you can and can't do. Okay, that's just the reality. Black Worm, I would actually welcome that because that also means less censorship. Yeah, Black Worm, that's the positive of it. I'm glad you mentioned that, because if there are more paid platforms, right, that there might be a case. And just think about this. And I know this is not a good topic in terms of this might be controversial, but think about the adult entertainment industry, right? They make a ton of money, and they've been making money way before the internet, right? And so that industry, they're able to provide these services because they have paid services. They have a different model for that, okay? And so that is obviously not safe for a lot of platforms out there, but it still exists, okay? So similarly, as more and more of these platforms provide a paid tier, like for YouTube, let's say they provided a YouTube business one, right? I would gladly pay for that. I would gladly pay for that. And then on the YouTube business version of YouTube, you could put more content that does not have to fall under their community guidelines. And the reason why I pointed to the whole adult industry is because they're already doing things that are definitely not in terms with a lot of community guidelines. And so that is the positive end. The more paid services you have, the more freedom that you have to do other things. Okay? And that's a very good point. In a lot of ways, that's the way I see things. And so in the future, if there are more paid things, then you will have the option to provide more of the types of content you want without as many restrictions because you're paying for it. And let's just be real. When you're paying for things, there is a huge difference than when you're getting it for free. Okay? And so when you actually pay for things, then they will provide you more services and more flexibility. Okay? So good. That's a good point. Good point. And so Rose, I have a problem with this remove policy of YouTube if they censor political voices. Yeah, Rose, I don't know if you were here a little bit earlier, but I explained why the whole political stuff, it's really trivial. That's not why they're doing it. Okay? And if you haven't seen the video, the parts where I talked about that, whenever there's a replay, you could check that out, okay? Because it's much bigger than that, okay? And so that was it for that one. I knew that it would be controversial, and not everybody would agree, but I really felt that this is something that is important. And the reason why it's important is because I'm all those three things that I just talked about, okay? I'm a consumer, I'm a content creator and I use this for business. Okay, and so whenever I saw this stuff, I really wanted to voice some of my opinions on it because it could be taken in many different ways. But in my general opinion, I think this will be a good thing for the long term. Okay, you know, a lot of people, even if they hate YouTube, they're actually on YouTube as well. Why? Because let's talk about something really quick, because we do talk a lot about privacy and how they're collecting all this data, they're making all this money from you and stuff. But one thing I had to think about, okay, if you are not happy with those things, why do you use their services? Why do you use their services? Because they're actually providing really good services. That's why. Okay, if these companies were providing horrible services, people would not use it. That's just real plain and simple. Why would you use something that sucks? You know, why would you use something that you hate? Well, you're using it because it actually provides some value. And just because a platform is popular doesn't mean that it's good. Okay, just think about Microsoft Windows or Apple, right? There's a lot of things that people like about them, but there's a lot of things that people hate about them. Okay, so you think about Microsoft or Apple trying to do video, right? They weren't successful with it. I think Apple did try a long time ago to even start a social media. I think it's called Ping or something. I can't remember. And obviously, Windows tried to do their Windows Phone. And they have Bing.com as their competing search engine to Google, but nobody really uses it. Okay, so you have to provide a service that people actually want to use. So that's why so many people continue to use these services even if they hate them, because they provide the best service. They provide something that people actually want to use. And so right now, and I know this sounds like I'm a Google fanboy, but if I had to think about it objectively, I don't think there's a company that provides more services that are actually useful. Okay, you know, we use a lot of these Google services every day. You're on YouTube. Why are you on YouTube? You know, why aren't you on Steemit? You know, or why aren't you on Vidme? Well, Vidme's already gone. Or Vimeo, okay? Or Dailymotion. How come you're not there? Well, because their service is not as good as YouTube. It's just not. The content is not as good. The monetization is not as good. The exposure, that's the biggest thing. YouTube, there's no better platform for traffic. And if you do buy ads, you run a business, the most important thing you need is traffic. That's why they have these AdWords, so you could get traffic to whatever business or media that you have. Okay? And YouTube, it dominates it when it comes to video traffic. Okay, so that's kind of like my thoughts and obviously my rant on that. And so not everybody's going to agree on that, but that's why I wanted to give you my perspective, because it's from 3 different angles. Okay, and a lot of times people focus on the very high level stuff that they already see in the media, censorship, politics, all this stuff. But if you dig a little deeper, that's really not what it's about. And if you think about all the stuff that's on the media that people look at, well, who's making all the money from all the views that you're watching, all the articles that you're reading? It's the media companies. And so in a lot of ways, you know, people spend their time on censorship, all this stuff, but who are you really helping? You're helping the media companies. That's who you're helping. Okay? And so so I myself, I focus mostly on the content creation and marketing. That's why a lot of times I don't spend a lot of time on the other stuff. But those are my thoughts on that. I know that was a long-winded thing, but let's go ahead and move over to the second stuff. Okay, so the second stuff is the most popular Linux of them all. And oh wait, let me go talk about this. So Carlos Henrique, really quick. Oh, Gaza's saying good point, Rose. And there's one thing I want to mention, y'all, for people who are new to my channel. Whenever I talk about these things, these are my opinions. Okay, so you don't have to agree with it. You could disagree with it or agree with it. I don't care either way. They're my opinions. And one thing that I really love about the people who come to my channel, okay, the people who actually leave their thoughts, they don't agree with me. Most of the times we have disagreements, but the great thing is, I think they are really open to it. Okay, that's why I get a lot of ideas, a lot of feedback from people who actually watch my channel. And so, okay, so I just want to put that out there. These are my opinions. And so I'm open to other people's opinions, but I don't have to agree with them, and I don't have to disagree as well. And so, yeah, so anyway, that's the first thing I want to tell you. And so, Carlos is saying, even with the problem, content creators have to use YouTube because that is where the public and consumers are. Yeah, it is. You know, so Gaza is saying censorship, SJW groups have too much leverage, influence on the content. Yeah, Gaza, that's a different thing. But if I think about it objectively, that type of content is popular. Okay, if I were to upload a lot of videos that talked about really controversial things, I guarantee you my channel, I would get more subscribers, and I probably wouldn't make as much money now with the community guidelines. But that's why so many YouTube content creators, they made a lot of money back then. Okay, so, you know, they made money from YouTube. They made money from this AdWords platform that they hate. You know, they made money from the company that they don't like, you know, censoring them. Okay, but then when the money stopped flowing, they stopped making that content, or they made less of the content. Okay, and so that's kind of funny how that works. And so, yeah, they do have a lot of influence, Gaza. I can't deny that at all. If I have to look at it objectively, they do have a lot of influence. But a lot of their influence is actually driven by the media companies. Just think about all the news that you see. Once again, it's the media companies that's making a ton of money. These aren't like small individual content creators. You know, I mean, even though we do have individual content creators who make this type of content, most of that content is being put out by big media companies, the ones that people hate, or so they say they hate, but they're actually spending all their time watching that content. And so, yeah, so if you are going to watch that content, I'm so happy that you are watching individual content creators like myself or other people that you enjoy. And so Rose is saying Twitch is owned by Amazon. Yes, Rose. And, you know, I did mention this before, Rose, on other videos. I really think Amazon, with their video platform, I think they will be definitely the biggest competitor to YouTube because they have everything ready. And so I have mentioned this before. I will be moving whenever it's ready, whenever I can. I will be moving a lot of my content to Amazon as well. But I think it's going to be a lot more strict on Amazon than it is on YouTube. Okay. Blackout Worm saying, great rant, many good points and thoughts. Yeah, Blackout Worm, thanks so much for all of you for adding to the conversation. You know, that's why I really enjoy having y'all here, because you have a different point of view, and I love that. Okay, I love that. Okay. Gaza saying, I wouldn't mind paying for YouTube if I could truly filter the content ESP for my children. Yes, Gaza. So that's the way I feel, Gaza. I really feel like having more paid options. And it's not just the fact that it's paid, okay? But whenever you pay for things, then as the business, they could put more money in other areas, okay? And so if there's a paid service that allow you to have better control of your content, protect your kids or loved ones from certain things, or even on the other end gives you, I guess, more freedom to do the type of content that you want, then, you know, those are great options, you know? Instead of just having one platform where it's under all the same rules, okay? Rose say, I wonder if Geek, if you making video on a file server and setting up a VPN on a file server, or setting up VPN using VPN service like PIA. Well, Rose, probably not, okay? Because and you know, you've been on my channel for a while. You probably see me talk about this before. I think privacy is important, but I really feel I'm a very simple person. I don't like to make things too complex. Privacy, it starts with you. I'll always say that. It's not the technologies, all this other stuff. You can spend all your time on that if you want, but it starts with you. And so that's very simple for me. If there's things that you do not want to put out there, things that you are private, then don't put it on the internet. That's for me, plain and simple. Because even if you go through all this trouble of setting up VPN services, encrypting everything, all this stuff, well, it's still going to be on the internet. It's still going to be reliant on other people and other businesses on their servers, their networks, their bandwidth. So that means you have to trust that none of that actually gets compromised. And we all know in the world of technology, nothing is completely 100% safe. And what if their company goes bankrupt? What if their company gets compromised or hacked? Well, even if you had a VPN service, it doesn't matter at that point, you know? And so I really feel you could take one or two ways, or maybe both. You could either control your privacy from your end, which I think is the easiest way, or you could spend a lot of time trying to keep things secure on the other end, being anonymous, all these things. But just understand that there's so many different things going on that I can't understand it. And at the same time, technology is constantly changing. And so whatever you did one day might not be secure and anonymous the next day. Okay, and in my opinion, I'd rather spend my time in other places. You know, I don't want to spend all my time on this other stuff, worrying about all this other stuff, when I could be spending my time doing more things that I enjoy, like creating content. I enjoy doing that. Or for maybe you want to spend more time with your family. Okay, so that's my point, Rosa. And I would say that all the time. When it comes to privacy, I don't spend a lot of my time on the technical stuff. You can if you want. That's what a lot of people spend. I spend my time on the simple stuff. If it's private for you, do not put it on the internet. Period. Then you don't have to worry about it. And so thanks, Go. And so there was a really interesting article for this right here. This guy Stephen J. Von Nichols, he does write a lot of things related to Linux and open source. And yeah, Gaza saying you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. Absolutely, Gaza. That's exactly my mentality as well. If you don't have nothing to hide, but then I also say, if there are things you don't want to share, just don't share it. Hey, good morning, JG. Thank you for joining. You're right. Plus, social engineering is where they get you. Yep, JG. Yep, that is. And so, right here, y'all, I thought this was interesting because Stephen J. Vaughn, I do like his articles. I have been reading his for years, and so he does have a bias towards Linux and open source. But I thought this was interesting because a lot of us do want to know which one is the most popular Linux distro. Which one is the best of them all, and that's really subjective. But sometimes there are certain things that could take a more objective approach, and that's kind of what he's talking about here. So he says the most popular Linux distribution of them all is Android. So if you go to StatCounter, this website here, and for people who keep up with this stuff, this isn't surprising at all. Okay, Android, or more specifically the Linux kernel that is at the core of the Android operating system, is dominant, 39, almost 40% over Windows, iOS, OS X. And then there's, I guess, Linux 0.68. They're primarily talking about the Linux desktop. But here you can see the actual operating system breakdown and the market share. And so that's first, okay? But he's not talking about that, okay? So we keep going down here, and they ask what is the most popular Linux distro. Okay, let's keep going down. They mention things such as Fedora, SUSE. Oh, this is one thing that surprised me, okay? And I didn't realize this. So they're saying while not nearly as popular as Android, Chrome OS is more popular than all the other Linux-based desktops combined. Oh man, wow! I did not know that. They in April 2018, 1.3% to 0.6% of all end users. Okay, and so I just want to make a joke about this. We talked about Google and YouTube earlier. Okay, if you don't like Google, then well, you're really gonna hate Google even more, because in the whole Linux space, the Linux kernel space, Google dominates that too. Okay, and so wow, they're everywhere, and so I should go work for Google or something. And so now for Linux distros, a lot of times we all go to DistroWatch, and DistroWatch is primarily based upon popularity, and so it's not really, I would say it's not really the most accurate tracking for which distros are the most popular. And even DistroWatch, they mention that themselves, that it's really not, it's based upon popularity, it's not really a one-to-one, okay? But for the most part, Linux Mint is usually at the top. And Manjaro is actually coming up really strong. And I have had people on the show that have talked about Manjaro Linux, and Manjaro is actually based upon Arch. Okay, and so I have not used it myself. Okay, I have tried Arch Linux, and I do like it. My brother uses Arch Linux for development. He does web dev. Okay, and so let me see. Manjaro, easier to install. It does use XFCE desktop environment, which is super super lightweight. Okay, and so let's keep going down. So in the end, this is from his article. So he goes, in the end, it's Android, Chrome OS, and then Debian, Ubuntu, Mint family. Okay, great. Nothing new. And then it's followed by Linux server version, CentOS, Red Hat Linux, SLES. Okay, so for me, as you already know, y'all, I'm very, very, very biased towards Linux Mint. Okay, there's really, I really don't shy away from that. I love Linux Mint. It is my distro of choice. Okay, and as you could probably see here, and the reason why I love Linux Mint is because it allows me to move over from Windows. Okay, completely. Because before Linux Mint, I used Ubuntu, and as a matter of fact, Ubuntu 18.04 has been released. Okay, and so Bionic Beaver is available, and so Ubuntu was really the one that got me started, and then it was Linux Mint, and I think like the more and more, and we have talked about this, where the distros are getting so much easier to use, they're getting so much easier to install, and it's really sweet. I'm so glad that my favorite distro is still up there. I hope Linux Mint doesn't go anywhere, but it's also really cool to see other distros coming up. You know, that whatever we as Linux user normally use, it's actually represented by real world statistics and also the popularity contest as well. And so let's see what else is on there. Solus, Debian, yeah, just the normal ones. And so I just thought I'd talk about that because I was kind of interested to see what he would say would be the most popular Linux distro. I kind of already knew, but sometimes it's nice to have that confirmation of that the one that you use is actually the most used one. Okay, and so this will be interesting from the stat counter, what is going to be happening over the years, because I kind of thought Linux as a desktop operating system was growing as a whole, but once again, this is based upon their data. And so I think I remember last year the Linux desktop operating system, I think it's like 3% or something. And so I'm hoping that it will have a higher market share than OS X. I think it has a good shot at doing that. But Windows market share, and I know for people who use Linux, they're not the biggest fans of Windows. I prefer not using it, but their market share as a desktop has been going down year over year. Okay, and I don't think that's going to stop. Because I myself, as a using Windows 10 every now and then, I think it's good, but because of all the other things that they're doing, and I don't really like the user experience. Here's a virus and threat protection summary. I don't really like all those things. I don't think it's going to help Microsoft Windows grow in the future in terms of a desktop operating system. And more people are migrating to Mac OS anyway. And then for everyone else, that also helps the Linux desktop market share as well. Okay. And so let me see if there's anything else. Okay, so let me see. So Rose is saying MX17. Yes, Rose. Rose, you talk about that so much. I might actually try it. I'm just curious now because I've never tried it before. So guys saying I've got to hold my hands up. Just moved to Arch to Kubuntu. So far so good. What? Wow. You moved over to Kubuntu. I did like Kubuntu for a long time. Why did you move to Kubuntu? Is it because of KDE? Guys saying, I do miss the AUR and I hate PPAs, but I need that core stability. Oh, okay. Carlos Enrique, OpenSUSE. Yes, I really enjoyed using OpenSUSE. I enjoyed using OpenSUSE, Kubuntu. I used Fedora as well back in the day. Blackout Warren is saying KDE is quite a nice DE desktop environment if you got a fast PC. Absolutely, Blackout Worm. That's why I use Kubuntu at versions of KDE desktop versions, because I do love the way it looks. Okay, it is stable. Blackout Worm saying a lot has software built specifically. Yep. Rose saying, see Geek use Azure Linux. Giggles. Rose, you're probably right. And then I'm gonna get a lot of hate. Yes, I will probably use Azure Linux. Actually, whenever Windows makes their Linux distro, I will use it and I will make a review on it, okay? And I'm gonna get a lot of views because a lot of people are gonna hate on me, but I would definitely try it out whenever that's released. JG says, didn't Windows just release the own Linux version? Yeah, JG, that's what Rose is talking about. I did talk about that last week, Azure Linux. And so, yeah, they're using it for their IoT Internet of Things. They're using a Linux kernel underneath. And so technically it is a Linux distro, technically. Okay, but I'm more thinking of a desktop operating Linux distro similar to what we already use. I'm positive Windows is going to release one. Azure Linux is just the first step in that, okay? And so Carlos Enrique is saying, I'm testing Parrot OS Home Edition. Comes with various anonymity features, Anon software, I2P, PGP, encryption, pre-installed, and make as interface. Cool, Carlos. And, you know, for people who, you know, who do want those options, it's great that we have those there. You know, if you want more privacy, you know, I mean, I still go back to what I do, but I understand. If you want the additional parts of it, then there are options there available. And just as Rose mentioned a little bit earlier, there are VPN services as well. But it is great that there are different distros that are security minded. Okay, and I have done an episode on that before, but maybe I might do a an update to that. Okay, I did start using Kali Linux for a while, but I just haven't spend enough time on it, you know, but I primarily use it to do penetration testing and stuff like that. Okay, so Blackout Worm said Windows is not where MS is making money anyway. Xbox is the really main focus. Yeah, Blackout Worm, man, I don't know how much longer they can make money on Xbox, because they got to do something different. That's in my opinion. You know, they're just not. They're not doing anything different to make them stand out, okay? Because you know, the Xbox One X was released, and I don't think it sold really well. You know, despite having superior hardware, they just don't have the games, okay? And yeah, so yeah, Xbox is still a moneymaker for them. They just got to do something different, okay? So Rose is saying, I downloaded Parrot, Carlos, just to see what it is. Sweet, cool. You know, Carlos and Rose, I might try. I mean, I rarely ever use a different distro or even test them out, okay? But since Rose has talked about MX17 so many times, I might just like preview it like I do here, okay? I don't do distro reviews, stuff like that. That's really not where I like to spend my time. But if I like to take a quick peek, like Ubuntu 18.04, so I might do that just to take a quick peek from somebody who does not do different distros. And so that's my perspective. So a lot of times people might laugh at me because I don't do a lot of different distros and I don't know much about them, to be honest with you. So Lycon, thank you for joining. Blackout Worm is saying, true, there are like 3 exclusive SBOT as opposed to PlayStation where all the games are. Yeah, Blackout Worm, seriously, man. I mean, Sea of Thieves versus God of War, yeah, not gonna win. Not gonna win. And so yeah, y'all, I'm just gonna go ahead and close this episode. I had to do this a little bit earlier today, but normally for my live episodes, at least for our weekly geek news and Linux stuff, it is at Saturday at 9 a.m. Central US time, okay? And so that's, if you are new to my channel, if you want to see live episodes when we talk about geeky stuff and Linux news, then it's on Saturday at 9 a.m., okay? And then on Monday, I have started a new live episode. I'm doing it Monday at night, I think like 8:30 p.m. I just did my first episode, but I will leave a link in the description if you want to see that. But I am doing live episodes, but that is actually for content creators and marketers, okay? So if you are interested in content creation and marketing, then check out my live episode on Monday evenings. And on those episodes, I don't talk about Linux and stuff or any other geek news really, unless it's related to content creation or marketing. Similar to what I have here, I really talk more about geeky news and Linux stuff, okay? So join me on Monday night. And also, if you are a content creator, okay, or you are a creative geek who is interested in content creation, I did just create a brand new content creator group and package. So if you're interested in that, I will leave a link in the description area below. If you join that, you will get access to 30 free videos, okay? So these are my own journey through content creation, tips that I've learned, because these are things that I thought was important, especially when I was a content creator. some of these things, you know, it would be nice. And so I'm leaving that there for all the creative geeks. And then once you join that, you'll be able to get additional material just for creative geeks out there, for content creators. And also I might have some marketing stuff there as well. But for anybody who's interested in that, be sure to check that out in the description area below. Thank you, Lycon XY, for joining, and Lance, and Andrew Bogdan just joined. So let me go ahead and say thank you to everyone first, like I usually do, okay? First and foremost, I want to thank Roger Luss. Secondly, Bob Devereaux. Third, Blackout Worm. Fourth, Carlos Henrique. Gaza M. And you know, all of y'all are regulars, and I'm very thankful for that. Rose. I just said Rose. And let me see. JG, thanks for joining. I have not seen you on here before. And like Cohen XY, thanks for joining. And Lance, of course, and Andre Bogdan. Thank you, all of you, for joining the Geek discussion, and thank you for all of you who are watching this right now or watching this later. And I do try to say this every episode, time is our most valuable asset, and I'm really happy that all of you decided to join us on our Geek discussion. And Andre Bogdan, the distro that I'm using is Linux Mint. Okay, that's the distro that I'm using. So thank you so much, y'all. We will see you on another live episode.